Hey everyone, it's Tony Nobley Jr. Welcome to Three Nail Studios. We're talking about James, the path to maturity. This is episode 2. We're going to be finishing the second half of James chapter 1. Now, in the first chapter, James talked about what it means to put on this mentality of spiritual maturity. And it starts with a servant's mentality, a selfless mentality, one that doesn't look at oneself. And it helps us to shift our perspective. Now, he continues on with that in these next verses. He says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. When tempted, no one should say, 'God is tempting me.' For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has been conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits for all that he's created. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror, but after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he saw. Everyone looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it. They will be blessed in what they do. Those who consider themselves religious yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongues deceive themselves, and their religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world." Now, this idea of being under trial is one of the key concepts that James is bringing up in this section. And being under trial is partially, kind of like being in a legal situation, but he's also giving this idea that we're being tested. That this life, when we decide to become a believer, when we decide to follow Christ, if we want to become a mature Christian, a complete person, this path to spiritual maturity, it requires us to go through a series of tests, because we on our own can't grow. So God allows these situations to come in to teach us how to endure, how to persevere, how to get through to the other side. Now, this idea of desire, it's not just a general wanting of something, right? This desire is incredibly passionate. Think about that one thing that you desperately need, that you've been waiting for. And when it finally comes out, the thing that you're willing to wait in line overnight to fight through all kinds of traffic to get to, that is the type of desire he's talking about, the desire that overwhelms, that over encompasses everything. See, if you have a spiritually mature mentality, then that desire should really only be focused on God. And it causes all kinds of problems when we don't allow it to be focused on him. Now, this idea of looking intently is also really important, because remember, when James was talking about this idea of being double-minded, he mentioned that when we ask God for something, we should expect to receive it. And it's the same as this. When you look intently, completely into something, it tends to look back at you. And we need to be honest with what we're seeing. When we look into what God is trying to tell us, we need to be honest with what he is trying to open up. And a spiritually mature person is willing to accept their flaws, not because we want to feel bad about ourselves, not to feel guilt or shame, but because that is how we can improve. That's how we can move forward. We all have moments where we look and we're not proud, or maybe a little embarrassed about what we see. And James is saying, don't shy away from those moments. Stay with them. Look at them. Allow them to change you. And finally, what is pure and undefiled? This idea that worship truly giving God the acknowledgement of who he is, it's important for us to understand that helping others, that selfless mentality, is what is important. See, James is letting us know that religion, when it comes to tradition, it's not as important to God. And it's something that shouldn't be a shock to us. He's said this before, but James is saying this is what God finds important. And this is what, as a spiritually mature Christian, we should value. Being selfless, seeing those who are in need, hearing what God is saying to us and putting it into action. And he's going to develop those theories later on. But for us right here, he gives us our first example of what it means to hear what God is saying and to put it in. See those who are most vulnerable in society and help them. Go. Do it. That's what James is trying to get through to us. If you want to be a spiritually mature Christian, look into the mirror, accept what you see, listen to what God's saying, and then put that into action. I hope you enjoyed what you've heard so far. We're excited about what's coming next. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We have more content that we'd love for you to watch. Also, it really helps us if you can like and leave some comments for us. It just helps us expand knowing what we want to put out next, and also lets us know where you're at and how we can connect with you. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next episode.